When we talk about the growth of any economy, there are basically two big engines. First is consumption and second is infrastructure. Infrastructure creates the backbone like roads, ports, railway, airports. And consumption is the lifeblood of the economy. It's the daily demand created when 140 crore people spend money on food, clothes, phone, bike, holiday, literally everything. Now in India, this consumption engine has been extremely powerful over the last 20-25 years. Just look at Nifty Consumption Index. It has delivered phenomenal return over the long term. And the story is far from over. With India being one of the youngest countries in the world, rising income and an expanding middle class, consumption is not just a short-term trend. It's a multi-decade opportunity. Another interesting thing about this theme is that it gives you exposure to multiple sectors under one umbrella. It includes auto, retail, durable, travel, telecom, QSR, beverage, and so on. That means even if one segment is under pressure, others can balance the growth. And the best part? Unlike B2B companies, most consumption stocks are B2C players. That is, we use their products and services in our daily lives. That makes them easier to understand and track. Think about it. Every time you buy jewelry from Titan, ride a TVS bike, take a Maruti car, order from Blinkit, shop at D-Mart, stay in an Indian hotel property, or use Airtel data, you're directly participating in India's consumption story. But why is there so much focus on consumption right now? That's because India is facing a big challenge due to global headwinds. The recent tariff hike by the US have hit export-oriented sector hard. That means this has made it clear that India cannot depend only on export to drive growth. Luckily, India has its own internal growth engine, that is domestic consumption, and that's where the real opportunity lies. And that's where exactly both RBI and the government have stepped in. They've already announced a series of measures to revive demand and put more money in the hands of consumer. However, the real story is the long-term structural growth driver that make India's consumption theme one of the most attractive opportunity for the next 20-25 years. That's where in this video we'll look at key growth drivers for Indian consumption sector that include both short-term and long-term. Then we'll identify top stocks within the consumption theme across categories. Finally, we'll look at the key risks to keep in mind while investing in the consumption theme. Alright, let's get started. Okay, before we proceed further, if you have been investing for a while and have a large portfolio of 40 lakh or more, it can really get challenging to regularly keep a track and make decisions on your portfolio. That's why Deserve has created the Investment Intelligence Report that includes an in-depth review of your entire portfolio. I asked the Deserve team to send me a sample investment intelligence report and they were kind enough to share it. The report is quite exhaustive, but let me take you through four most important aspects of your portfolio analysis. So first is distribution across asset classes. You first see a complete view of your portfolio distribution across mutual funds, stocks and other assets. In this portfolio's case, it's around 60-40, 60% in mutual fund and 40% in direct stock. Second is fund level performance. Here the report details your portfolio performance against the right benchmarks. So this sample portfolio has an XIRR of 13% while the benchmark was up by 16%. So this portfolio has underperformed the benchmark by almost 3%. In a large portfolio like this, it resulted in 22 lakh of missed gain. It goes one step further to give you each fund's performance against its respective benchmark and share detailed observation on them. For example, here they have identified how this fund has poor composition and ranking. One more insight they share is your portfolio diversification. This portfolio seems to be over-diversified with 35 funds, whereas Deserve suggests holding 5 to 12 funds as ideal. The actual report is even longer and is one of the most comprehensive portfolio reviews you will find. If your portfolio is above 40 lakh, get your free investment intelligence report today by downloading and signing up on the Deserve app. You can set up a one-on-one call with Deserve's relationship manager who will personally take you through this comprehensive review of your portfolio. I provided the link to download the app in the description. Moving on, let's talk about the short-term triggers that can give a quick boost to India's consumption story. So the last few months, both RBI and government are trying hard to revive the consumption demand in our country. For instance, this year, February, RBI made its first rate cut after 5 years with 25 basis points. Then in April month, RBI did another 25 basis rate cut. Then recently in June month, RBI cut the repo rate by 50 basis points. Rate cut is basically the rate at which RBI lends money to commercial bank. So when RBI cuts the repo rate, banks can borrow cheaper from RBI. That means the cost of fund goes down for the bank. And they usually pass this rate cut by reducing interest rate on home loan, car loan, business loan and so on. So fall in interest rate directly result in fall in EMIs, and that boosts the demand in the economy. Then RBI went a step further. It started purchasing government bonds to inject liquidity into the banking system. In simple terms, banks now have more money to lend, which again boosts credit growth and spending. On top of this, RBI has recently cut the CRR rate by 100 basis points. CRR means cash reserve ratio. It's the portion of deposit that banks are required to keep with the RBI without earning any interest on it. So when RBI cuts CRR, banks suddenly get to use that money for lending instead of just parking it with RBI. This CRR cut is expected to release liquidity of about 2.5 lakh crore into the banking system by end of November 25. Then in the latest budget, RBI increased the zero tax limit from 7 lakh to 12 lakh. So that's a massive jump and would directly put a lot more money in the hands of middle class people in India. And what do people usually do with extra disposable income? Well, they spend more. Whether it's eating out, traveling, buying a new phone, upgrading their bike or car, or even small lifestyle upgrades like better clothes and gadgets. While all these steps were important to boost the consumption demand, the latest GST rate cut announcement is historic because it will impact every single person in the country. Government is planning to cut down GST on products from 12% to 5% and 28% to 18%. For instance, auto industry where bikes and cars fall under 28% rate can potentially move into 18% slab. Likewise, consumer durable goods are expected to move from 28 to 18% slab, and then essential and everyday items are expected to move from 12 to 5% slab. All in all, what we are seeing right now is a very coordinated effort between RBI and the government to boost India's consumption story. RBI rate cuts would make loans cheaper, CRR cuts and bond purchase would flood the system with liquidity, and tax rebate are going to leave more disposable income in the hands of middle class people. And now with GST rate cuts on the table, products across category from essential good to car and appliances are likely to become cheaper. Put together, these measures are designed to kickstart spending, revive demand and accelerate growth in the economy. Now these are just short-term triggers. The real game is in the long-term growth story. Here the first driver is demographics. India is one of the youngest countries in the world. A large share of our population is below 35, which means millions of people entering the workforce, earning money and spending on everything from food to fashion to travel and gadgets. Then second driver is urbanization. Every year more people are moving from villages to cities. And when people shift to cities, their lifestyle and spending habits change dramatically. They eat out more, shop more, use more services and demand better housing and infrastructure. Then third driver is rising income. The middle class is expanding and rural income are also improving. And when income rise, aspirations rise. Families want better education, better healthcare, branded clothes, bigger homes and better vehicles. Then fourth driver is digital penetration. With smartphones, UPI, e-commerce and even quick commerce app, consumption has become super easy and accessible. Earlier, people had to wait for a shop in their town. Now, with a single click, they can buy products, book tickets, and even order food instantly. And the fifth driver is premiumization. Now, this is a big trend. Consumers are moving away from unbranded to branded stuff and from mass market to premium products. Instead of just buying a phone, people now want the latest iPhone. Instead of just eating at home, they want to try a premium cafe or a weekend trip. This upgrade in lifestyle is a huge long-term driver. So in short, India's long-term consumption story is powered by youth, cities, rising income, digital access, and a clear shift towards premium lifestyles. These are structural forces that will play out for decades. Now let's look at the consumption sector landscape and stocks within each segment. First segment within consumption is FMCG and packaged goods. These are your everyday essentials like your food, beverage, personal care and home care products. Top listed companies in this space are your HUL, Nestle India, Dabur, Marico, Varun Beverage and Tata Consumer. These companies have brands that are literally present in every Indian household. They are cash-rich companies, zero to negligible debt and have excellent ROE and ROCE. And all these companies have created massive wealth for the investors in the past. But they have struggled in the last few years to create wealth for the investor due to fall in demand and rising inflation level. Now with tide turning towards consumption with both short-term triggers like GST cut along with long-term triggers like premiumization, they can do well. Apart from this, you also have ITC that would fall into this segment, but ITC is still cigarette-heavy business, which is a sin product. Having said this, in FY25, around 30% of companies' revenue has come from FMCG sector. Apart from this, there are also a few small players like Mrs. Bector Food that is also doing well. Then second segment within consumption is consumer durable and electronics. This includes appliances, white goods, lighting and other electronics. So when someone buys a fridge, AC, washing machine or even a mixer, companies like Havells, Voltas, Whirlpool benefit directly. Again, this segment has been a huge wealth creator in the past. Be it Havells with more than 200 times growth in the last 20 years, Voltas with more than 50 times growth or Whirlpool with exponential growth. But in the last few years, consumer durable sector has also struggled. Havells share price is down 30%, Voltas is also down 30% and Whirlpool has tanked more than 50% since January 21 high. Considering GST cut from 28 to 18% on white goods, this can be a big boost. Then you have electronic companies that manufacture these consumer durables. It includes Dixon, Amber Enterprise and PG Electroplast as top player. Now these companies have been a massive wealth creator in the last few years, but they've always traded at premium valuation due to their higher growth trajectory. While we can always debate over the valuation, there's no doubt that growth potential for these electronic companies is still massive. Then comes your retail and e-commerce, a huge driver of modern consumption. On one side, you've got physical retailers like Avenue Supermart, parent company of D-Mart, then Trent and Reliance Retail, which is part of Reliance Industry. On the other side, you've got listed online platform companies like Nykaa, Eternal, which is parent company of Zomato and Blinkit, and then your Swiggy. Together, they are reshaping how India shops and eat. Especially the quick commerce category led by Blinkit and Instamart are growing at lightning speed. Although their valuations are debatable as traditional P/E ratio does not work with new age platform companies. Then there's a very exciting space in the value retail segment that is growing at a fast rate as market is moving from unorganized to organized sector in tier 2, 3 and 4 cities of India. It includes players like Vishal Mega Mart, V2 Retail and Style Bazaar. All three are growing at a fast rate. Then you have gold retailers. Now gold jewelry in India isn't just investment. It's a consumption plus lifestyle product. People buy gold not only for weddings and festival, but also for fashion, gifting and even status. Here again, organized players are growing at a fast rate. With rising disposable income, gold sector should continue to do well. Some of the top listed gold retailers in India include your Titan, Kalyan Jeweler, P.N. Gadgil and Senco Gold. Next is auto sector. For millions of Indian families, buying their first car or bike is a big milestone. Here top players include your TVS, Eicher Motor, Hero Motor, Bajaj Auto in two-wheeler and three-wheeler segment, and then your Maruti Suzuki, Mahindra and Mahindra, Hyundai India and Tata Motor in passenger vehicle. With proposed GST cut on auto sector from 28 to 18%, this sector can get a solid push. Then another interesting category within consumption is alcoholic beverage industry. India is actually one of the largest alcohol market in the world. And here, the real story is in the premiumization trend. Earlier, the bulk of demand was for low-cost mass market liquor. But now, as incomes rise and lifestyle change, people are upgrading towards premium whiskey, as well as your craft beer and even imported spirits. What makes this sector interesting is the young population, urbanization and rising disposable income, all of which are pushing alcohol consumption higher. Top players in this sector are your United Spirit, Radico Khaitan, Elite Blender and Tilak Nagar Industries. Another interesting category is travel, tourism and leisure. See, India's travel market has completely transformed in the last few years. Earlier, vacations were mostly limited to annual family trip during summer holidays. But now, with rising disposable income, cheaper flight and Instagram generation, travel has become an experience-driven lifestyle. People are not just traveling once a year, they are taking weekend getaways, vacations and even international short trips. On the business side, you've got Indigo dominating the airline market with around 65% market share. In hospitality, Indian Hotel, parent company of Taj Group, EIH, parent company of Oberoi Group, Chalet, ITC Hotel and Lemon Tree are leading the leisure travel segment, whereas Sammy Hotel cater to business segment. Next segment within consumption is food, which brings us to QSR sector. Here some of the top listed players are Jubilant Foodwork, which is the franchisee owner of Domino's India. Then you have Devyani International that owns the franchisee of KFC and Pizza Hut. Now, QSR has witnessed a massive growth between 2010 to 2020 period. But in last few years, this sector has struggled badly due to multiple reasons like high inflation in food items that impacted the margins along with consumption demand. However, I think the bigger challenge for QSR sector is the rise of food delivery companies like Zomato and Swiggy, along with hundreds of cloud kitchens that are giving strong competition to QSR companies. And finally, in today's world, we cannot ignore data consumption. With India being the largest data consumer globally, companies like Jio, which is part of Reliance Industry, and Bharti Airtel are at the center of this digital consumption wave. The best part of these companies is they have near duopoly in the market with nearly 90 crore users combined. There's a huge entry barrier in this sector, and these companies can continue to increase the ARPU, that is, average revenue per user, by increasing the data usage rate. Hence, both the companies would continue to grow for years to come. So when we talk about the consumption theme, it's not just one sector. It's a whole ecosystem covering everything from what we eat and wear to how we travel, shop, and even entertain ourselves. With measures taken by both government and RBI, I think the entire consumption space would do well. If you want to play this consumption theme but are confused about which stock to pick, you can also consider some consumption-specific mutual funds like Mera Asset Great Consumer Fund or HDFC Non-Cyclical Consumer Fund or Nippon India Consumption Fund. Having said this, there are a few risks you must keep in mind before investing your money in the consumption theme. Let's have a look. So far, we have been talking about India's consumption story and how it's one of the strongest long-term themes. But let's be real. No theme is risk-free. Even consumption has its own set of challenges. So first risk is rural demand slowdown. A big part of India's consumption actually comes from rural India. Now, if monsoons are weak and farm income goes down, automatically rural spending slows. That directly hit FMCG, two-wheeler, and even affordable consumer durable. This is one of the key reasons why FMCG stocks have struggled post-COVID. Although the good news is, after a long period of slowdown, rural demand has started to recover. Plus, the monsoon is also good this year. Then second risk is high inflation. When inflation rises, daily essentials become more expensive. And the first reaction from people is cut down on discretionary spending. So categories like restaurant, QSR, travel, fashion, and gadgets take a hit. Again, this was one of the biggest culprits behind weak performance of FMCG and food companies. But inflation in India is now at lowest level. So that is again a good tailwind for near term. Third risk is regulatory risk. Government policies plays a big role. For example, if government increase GST on certain category or put restriction on alcohol, tobacco, or even junk food advertising, all these can directly hurt consumption companies. Again, the good news at the moment is government is actually cutting down the GST rate. Fourth risk is competitive pressure and disruption. Consumer-facing sectors are highly competitive. Whether it's FMCG, e-com, telecom, QSR, new players keep entering, price war happens, and margins shrink. A strong brand today can lose market share tomorrow. For instance, today there are hundreds of new brands in each category thanks to D2C, that is direct-to-consumer brands, and platforms like Blinkit and Instamart. Then food businesses witness massive competition from Zomato and Swiggy. So competition and technology disruption risk would always exist. Then fifth risk is economic cycles and job market risk. Consumption is directly linked to disposable income. If the job market slows or economic growth dips, people delay buying that new car, new phone, or that foreign trip. And sectors like auto, travel, luxury products immediately feel the pain. With rise of AI, there's a big concern over jobs across industries, including IT sector. That has been a huge contributor in India's consumption boost. So this risk has to be watched carefully. So to wrap it up, consumption is not just another sector in India. It's the heartbeat of our economy. From food to fashion, from travel to telecom, it touches every part of our daily lives. In the short term, government and RBI measures like rate cut, tax rebate, GST reduction are acting as powerful booster. In the long term, structured forces like young population, rising income, urbanization, and premiumization will set India's consumption story to play out over decades. Of course, there are risks like inflation, rural slowdown, regulatory changes, or even global headwinds. But if you step back and look at the bigger picture, consumption remains one of the most resilient and powerful investment themes in India. The good news is you don't have to catch just one stock or sector. The entire ecosystem offers opportunity. FMCG, auto, retail, durable, gold, travel, even data consumption. You can pick leaders from each segment or take the simple route through consumption-focused mutual fund. At the end of the day, the logic is simple. As India grows, Indians will spend more. And if you have invested in the right companies, you are not just watching that growth, you are actually participating in it. So yes, consumption is not just a theme for next 2-3 years. It's a multi-decade story. And if played wisely, it has the potential to create massive long-term wealth for investors. Now let me know in the comment, what are your top picks from consumption theme? If you find this video useful, do share it within your circle. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care. The views and opinions expressed are my own and does not reflect or represent the views and position of Deserve Investment Private Limited or its affiliates. The information contained in this video is for general and information purpose only and is not meant for advisory or recommendation purpose.